Good evening and welcome to The Bottom Line. News about your neighborhood and its condition. News that will allow you to make informed decisions. From downtown to Dover and everywhere in between, it's news that reaches the residents of Wilmington and Newcastle County. News that's real, relevant, and revealing. Yes, you've got it. It's The Bottom Line. Again, good evening. My name is Nicole DeSarette, and I am one of your hosts on The Bottom Line. We have, as always, a power-packed show. You won't want to miss one bit of it. The crew is here. We have our captain, State Rep Potter. We have Elder Ty. We have Miss Deneen. Mr. Ed's on his way, and we might even see that Republican guy, Mr. Cal. I have a brief announcement that I'm going to make, and then I'm going to jump into my very first interview, a very special guest. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. Just wanted to remind you that on Saturday, August 6th, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., there will be a flapjack fundraiser at the Applebee's restaurant located at the 1340 Split in Newcastle, Delaware. It's an all-you-can-eat breakfast that will benefit Kaleidoscope, empowering survivors, mind, body, and spirit. This conference is for women living with all types of cancer. It will be held September 23rd and 24th at the Embassy Suites located on 896 in Newark, Delaware. Please come out to the Flapjack fundraiser. Tickets are available for a limited time only. The prices are $14 for adults ages 13 and up, and for children ages 4 to 12, as well as seniors 65 and up, the tickets are only $10. If you are interested in supporting this event, please give me a call. The office number is 610-812-9997. Again, 610-812-9997. Limited tickets available. Please give me a call to reserve yours today. As I promised you, I have a very special guest in Studio B. Now, I've had the honor of interviewing people such as Velda Jones Potter. I've interviewed Penrose Hollins. I've interviewed Bob Cannon. And the list just goes on and on and on. And tonight, it is my honor to interview the one, the only, Elder Ty Johnson. I am so happy that your agent set this up.
Majid, you know, I had to talk to my people, had your people talk to my people, psych, no, I'm playing. Oh, Denise, I mean,
Oh,
Nicole.
he called me Denise.
Nicole.
Yes, he did.
Hey, look, Nicole.
He did that on purpose.
Yeah,
I know he did.
Look, because she's got that good looking puff going on and that she just back, I'm fresh. I said, is this her normal look? No. Nicole, thank you so much. First, I want to thank State Rep Potter. I want to thank you all, and I think about you all as a family. You, Deneen, Abundance, everybody who's been so helpful into helping to make this The Bottom Line, one of the most watched TV shows on Channel 28. I'm privileged to be here. Thank you for having me tonight. When you see him, would you please thank State Rep Potter for me?
Will do.
Oh,
Will
God bless you.
Will do.
God bless you.
So now we're shifting gears a little bit
Yes,
because
ma'am.
you're one of the hosts as well, but tonight you're a guest.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And you are running for an office.
Wilmington City Council at large.
All right. So everybody may not know what that job entails.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you can share a little information about the duties, that would be great. Place to start.
Well, the Wilmington City Council at large, first of all, there are 8 councilmatic districts around the city. And there are 4 council folks at large. And these council folks at large actually have the privilege of serving the whole entire city of Wilmington while the other 8 are restricted to their particular district and their particular zone, that sort of thing. The other 4, right, there's 3 Democratic seats and 1 Republican seat.
I see.
And they actually have freedom to move around the city and to assist folks, help folks. And basically, the council is responsible for governance, responsible for legislation, that sort of thing, and the budget. And I tend to think they do a lot of work behind the scenes with building collaborations. They have certain, like a public safety committee, they have a Parks and Rec committee, they have finance committee, and these committees help to better run our city government.
Now, you said that this position serves the city of Wilmington.
Yes.
And you are no stranger to the city of Wilmington. You've been here a while in terms of your community involvement. So let's talk about kind of how people know you. I know you are a preacher, hence Elder Ty.
Yes, ma'am.
So how does that role of being a quote-unquote street preacher and the connections that you make with people in the community,
Absolutely.
how will that translate to your new office as a city council member at large?
First of all, I thank you for that, and I thank God for all that He's allowed me to do, and I blame this on my mother. For my mother looked at me and she said, "Ty, why don't you run for office?" And I said, "Mom, I don't like half those folks. I love everybody. I just don't like half them." She said, "I thought it wasn't about you." She hit me with a gut shot. And she had observed me doing various things, and I said, "Well, let me pray about it." And I said, "Mom, you're treating me like I'm Tommy on Martin." I said, "But, you know," and everybody know what, Tommy don't have no job. You see what I'm saying? But, you know, when I began to pray about it and I asked God, my pastor, Bishop Weeks, said, "Look, there comes a time when you ask God to allow you to use His authority to move systems so that you might better help folks get to where they need to get to." And we who are in this city, you know, when I looked at the numbers and I looked at the folks who were basically impoverished, and the education, the lack of education going on, I thought and knew that I may be able to help in a different kind of way. So you ask an interesting question: how and why would I want to do something like this? First of all, I love this city. Anyone who wants to help can help. Elder Ty, www.elderty.com. elderty.com. I got to say that because I have low budget to no budget. And for all these years, most of my finances I have come from the people. I have enormous contacts, I guess. A lot of political and social capital already. That's why I was comfortable just doing what I was doing. We have done things like we worked over at the the Village of Eastlake when WHA, the Wilmington Housing Authority, was tearing down what was known as the Bucket Eastlake Housing Project. We had the first contract to do that, a demolition contract. My job was to bridge Leon Weiner Group was a construction company, to bridge them, the housing authority, and the residents, so that the residents weren't displaced without opportunities, without jobs. So what I did was I reached out to the Muslim community right over there in Northeast Boulevard, and we established some training. And that training, right, was pre-construction safety training, which enabled a lot of those folks to move right into the construction area, which is one of the things I want to work on. And when I'm successful at City Council, I think we definitely need. When you talk about public safety, you're talking about drugs, you're talking about folks robbing, you're talking about a lot of the social ills that's going on. It all points back to poverty, and it points back to desperation.
Right.
And I think one of my areas that I really love to work in is connecting folks to opportunities. Not necessarily jobs.
Right.
Jobs is a big part of it, but I want folks to embrace their gifts and to know that, hey, look at a business. Look at a business and look at you being an entrepreneur. And if we support you in this and you bring integrity, you bring persistence, and you bring the perseverance that is needed, you will be successful.
Right, right. And I know your slogan for this campaign is getting it done.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, it is. And I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You first.
Well, my daughter, Tylisa, came up with that, getting it done. Dad, you're kind of an action person. And my friend, Pastor Pravi Powell, he calls me Action Jackson. We're old heads. So this is Action Jackson here. And I like to get it done. I don't like to be, we've studied, and we study to study. But when I'm at the table, I like to look at what are the results? How do we measure what we do? What are we going to get done? We've done Fugitive Safe Surrender program where 1,700 plus folks turned themselves in who were out there, 100,000 people with federal warrants. 402 days, 4,443 cases were handled. That's the kind of stuff I like to do. It changes people's lives. It revolutionizes the way folks living. It brings a bigger quality to their life.
Great, great. And you know, as I was driving to the studio, I was just kind of thinking about getting to know you since the bottom line started. A little less than a year ago, and just kind of what qualities I see you bringing to the table. And if you don't know Elder Ty, get to know Elder Ty. One thing I appreciate about you is that you're real. You know, who you are in the studio, the clown in front of the cameras. But you know, having humor is a good thing. But you are the same every time I come in contact with you. And you're serious about your commitment, and you're not afraid to get your hands dirty to work to make Wilmington a better place. And those are things that I think people should consider, not only your background and your connection to people in the community, but you're not above people. You are with them, and I think you convey that in what you do and how you speak. And that's important for people to see, you know, there's somebody really in my corner who wants me to better myself as well as better my surroundings.
I think folks remember that I'm the founding director of Churches Take a Corner. And in doing that, we sent more people to treatment center, drug and alcohol in the history of this state than anybody. And in doing that, I did Peace on the Streets. I brought Yolanda Adams here. I brought John P. Key here. I brought just several artists. Every year we challenge folks to do no banging, just hanging with God. And then, you know, just the list goes on and on and on. But I did those things, and people know, you know, I did a mentoring program for years with children who had parents that are incarcerated. We had over 300 children that we mentored, and I just did them. I don't need to stand up and say, look at me, we're doing this, but I do need to do things so that people feel like they're loved, and that's all.
Right, right. I am so happy to spend the time with you today, and perhaps we need to have a part 2 to this, because they're giving me that signal.
Are they?
Elder Ty's talking too long. We need to get the hook. So,
Lord have mercy. You'll see how they do me. This super PAC money over there. Super PAC money over there. I love this city.
So thank you again, Elder Ty.
I love this city. And please help me on September the 13th. Vote for yours truly.
Wonderful, wonderful. We're going to take it right over to Studio A with State Rep Charles Potter.
Well, what a wonderful interview. And, you know, Ty, he knows he has my support. And Ty got a witness over there with Nicole, because she said, let me repeat, I preach about you. That's what I thought I heard her say. So he has a witness. We'll play the tape back to see what she said. But I am very happy to be here. Wilmington, Delaware, Newcastle, Delaware, state of Delaware. This is very historic. Tonight I have with me not only our sportscaster, Ed Johnson, but I have Dr. Cecil Gordon, who is not only a doctor, and I asked him what type of doctor he is, I think I know, but more importantly, he's the first, say it again, the first black judge to ever judge in the Olympics, and he's going to be judging in swimming. And where is he going to be at, Ed? In what country?
Rio de Janeiro.
All right. And, you know, when I was looking, you know, I'm getting a little technical here, you know. Deneen and them always looking down at their phone, so I said, let me do this. So it says here, Swim, FINA announces Olympic officials for Rio 2016. And it has 22 official judges. And it says a starter judge is Cecil Gordon from the USA. I see a couple there. And so tell me, first, let's start out with what type of doctor you are, and then we're going to go right into talk about the Olympics.
Okay. Well, medical doctor, specialty is obstetrics and gynecology, and I've been in practice for 32 years.
32 years.
Years go by, don't they?
Yes.
Long time, 32 years.
Yes.
Tell me. But it's been a great run. I've enjoyed it, and have enjoyed being in Wilmington.
Okay. And now you're going to the Olympics. Did you ever think you would go to the Olympics? More importantly, be a part of the Olympics?
Never. I never gave it a thought. You know, it started with swimming with my kids when they were young, and volunteering, as a lot of parents do.
Okay.
And one thing led to another, and here I am.
How long, I mean, tell us what's involved in this, and, you know, do you just get up there, you got to go to a lot of meets, what time do they start, how early do you got to get up, do you travel the country, tell us about that.
Well, you know, I've been officiating since 2001, so.
Okay.
You start out locally as a volunteer.
Okay.
And over the years became more and more involved, started to do national championship meets around the country.
All right.
And you get invited based on your availability, based on your competence, and I was very fortunate there. And then I've done some international meets. I did World Championships last year in Kazan, Russia.
Wow.
I've done 3 championship meets in Hawaii,
Wow.
Scotland.
Scotland.
And so it's been a great run.
We're getting a tour around the world here. Ed, what's going on?
It's been great, man. It's good to do that on somebody else's dime, you know?
That's right.
There's one thing that I think a lot of people are interested in. I was looking at the newspaper today, and I seen a white ship, a white boat in the waters of Rio de Janeiro, and the oil in the water, they said, turned the white ship black.
Oh.
How concerned are the people that are from the United States that's going over to Rio de Janeiro? How concerned are they about something like that?
Well, I think there's a health hazard with certain competitions. Of course, the pool is a controlled environment.
Right.
You don't have to worry about it. But with open water, where athletes swim out in the ocean, that's a little concerning. But in the bay where you're talking about, there's a lot of boat competition, you know, rowing and those kinds of things. And people are concerned.
And that's the question that I would have, because those athletes must be troubled to know that they're going to be going over there. And that picture was in the paper today.
Today?
Yeah. Oh,
And
no.
I was
Are you
concerned
afraid of
about
drinking
that.
the water while you're over
Drinking
there?
the water, yeah, but you know, most places now you drink bottled
Bottled
water,
water?
even here. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
that won't be too much of a problem.
But it's supposed to be a beautiful country, but did they have problems with security? Are you concerned, any security concerns or
I
anything?
think that's my biggest concern is security. I was talking with one of the FBI agents. I recently worked the meet for Olympic trials where the Olympic team for swimming was chosen out in
Okay.
Omaha, Nebraska. And that security was tight there because, of course, it's a target potentially. And the FBI agent was talking about the fact that Rio will be a high target for a lot of people. And so security, because they don't have as much money available as some of the other
Wow.
countries in the past, that there is some concern. Yeah.
Now, talk to me about, do we have any black swimmers involved? And then tell us some of the most famous swimmers you got to meet so far.
There are 2 young women who are going to be there on the Olympic team. Both are freestylers.
Okay.
Leah Neal is out of New York.
All right.
And a young lady who's Simone Manuel, she's out of, goes to Stanford. They both go to Stanford University.
Okay.
So, interestingly enough, back in the NCAAs, for the first time 2 years ago in the history of swimming, 3 African American women were first, second, and third in the
Wow,
50
that's
freestyle.
great.
And 2 of those women, one was first, Manuel, and Leah Neal was third, and then there
Wow.
was another woman who was second. So, Cullen Jones, who we all know from previous
Cullen Jones,
Olympics,
yes.
he's from New Jersey. He didn't make it this time. He finished third in his
How old is
event.
he now? Is he in his 30s?
No, he's got to be close to 30.
Right,
yeah,
right,
because
yeah.
this would have been his third, I think, Olympics. And he finished third in his event. You have to finish top 2 in order to qualify
Wow.
for the team. So it was unfortunate.
No
he didn't
merit
make it.
points, no merit,
No,
you know,
you
that
don't
you
get-
did.
you get
No,
none of that stuff,
None of that.
man.
Well, let me ask you a question. How excited are you to be going to the Olympics to meet some of these most famous athletes in the world?
You know, a lot of
Michael
us-
Phelps and
yeah.
Brian Lockheed. You must, you must be really excited about that.
Yes, I am. But those guys I've worked with in national championships around this country. And last year, although Michael was not allowed to go to Russia because he had gotten a recent DUI,
Right.
as part of his
Yes.
No,
suspension, he wasn't able to go. But I've gotten to know Michael pretty well over the years, as well as his coach Bob Bowman and Ryan Lochte. The one thing about swimmers, though, is they're very down to earth. So you get
Okay.
to see them and talk to them. And as an official, of course, you don't want to get too close to them. But
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah,
Do
no,
they
you
ask you
gotta-
for any techniques, or
No.
do I need to tweak this, tweak that?
No,
Or you can't talk to them at all?
Well, no, I say hello and,
Right.
and maybe shake hands, good swim, that kind of thing. But you try to be impartial, just like an umpire would at a baseball game. I mean, but no, I wouldn't be the guy that would give them any advice about swimming. Of course, that would be their coach.
So you're going to take your family, you're going to take Yvonne, your wife, with you? Is she interested in
She's
going?
not going to go. Our daughter's going to grad school,
Oh,
and she'll
okay.
be moving in that week.
Okay.
She was in Omaha for Olympic trials.
Right,
And that was a
yes.
10-day trip. And I'm kind of glad she's not going because of the whole
Oh, yeah,
security
the
factor
security.
and
Right, I
having
understand
to
that.
worry
'Cause,
about
With all the
back
crazy
and
things
forth.
happening in the world today, you have to have, you got to take your hat off to her for her concerns about the security issues
no
that's
question.
going on
No question.
because of all this, the crazy things that's going on in the world today that surround us. You know.
No question. But you ask about the excited about athletes. What I'm really excited about, because swimming is kind of a profession now, and I'm comfortable with that. But meeting other athletes in the other disciplines, the sprinters,
Right.
like Bolt,
Bolt.
or
I call him Hussein Lightning Bolt.
Is it that fast?
He is the fastest man on this planet, and there's no question about that.
Serena and Venus will be there.
Oh, wow.
And let me just say something about that.
Okay.
You know, Serena Williams and Venus Williams are 16-0 in the
doubles.
Olympics.
In the Olympics.
Oh, in the
That's
Olympics.
right, the doubles.
The
The
doubles,
Olympics.
right.
They have not lost a match in the Olympics ever.
Yeah.
So do you take pictures with all these athletes? Because you should, I like to take a lot of pictures. Do you take
sure.
any?
That I would do and not feel bad. And the
Okay,
swimmers
all right.
would have to be hands off, but other athletes, yeah. no
He's a
question.
photographer also.
Oh, he's
He
gonna have
takes
his
a lot of
camera out
pictures,
there.
yes.
Definitely without a doubt.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
So tell us some things we don't know about swimming. I used to swim. It's been a long time ago. I did the 50. I did the butterfly. I did the 100. And boy, that's a long time ago.
All I could do was
enjoyed
dive
it,
in the
but
pool, Charles.
that's it.
Dive in the
Now
pool.
all I do is put my feet in the water. You still swim?
I swim a little, not recreationally. My son was a 4-year swimmer in college at University of North Carolina,
Oh,
so
okay,
he really
great.
was a serious swimmer. But one thing we don't talk about enough, though, is the tragedy of swimming.
Okay.
And in the
There you go.
African American community, 70% of children don't know how to swim.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
That
And
is.
10 people drown every day in this country.
10 people a day? I
10
couldn't
people
imagine that.
a day,
Could
and
you?
the vast
I
majority are
couldn't imagine
either,
that
Yeah.
because when I was a young man, my mother took me to camp. Even though I didn't swim in the water, I already knew how to swim because I used to go down to Canby Pool all the time to swim when I was a young man.
Well, they used to just
But did
throw
you
us in the
know how to
pool.
swim?
Oh, I knew how
Were
to
you-
swim.
okay,
I learned myself how to
You
swim.
know how
That's
to-
how a lot of people drown because they say, I know how to swim until
I know
You
how to
get
swim.
out
The
there and
water's
you can't
over
do
your
it.
head
Right.
and you panic.
So
And
what
so-
would you say to the people about getting your children taught how to swim?
I think it's one of the most important things you can do because all our kids are around water. Summertime, and it's hard to not be tempted to jump into a lake or a pond or even a pool
Right.
when your friends are in the pool in the
Sure,
water. So,
yes.
to get swim lessons is basic. And a lot of times you can even get them from free at the Boys and Girls Club or at the YMCA.
Right.
You don't have to be a competitive swimmer, but you want to be able to save your life.
That's
Right.
right.
And
That's
so
right.
I can't emphasize enough the importance of learning to swim for children of color, Latinos, African Americans, and others. Just too much needless loss of life on a
Yes,
regular
sure.
basis.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I can tell you that I'm super happy and to be a part of this history and want to congratulate
Thank you
you
much.
from the bottom of my
I
heart.
also
Thank
wanna
you.
You know,
congratulate
Thank you.
the
Thank you.
first
Thank you.
black African American black man.
Right.
We gotta
To
use
be a
African American
judge.
black man
African-American.
to be a judge in the Olympics
And swimming.
and swimming
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
United States of America, going over to
Rio de Janeiro.
Rio de Janeiro.
Good
Beautiful.
luck.
Can't wait,
What do you
brother.
want to say
I
in
know.
closing? Tell the people.
Just that I'm looking forward to it. It's been a great run. The Olympics for me will be the pinnacle, and I'll keep you posted when I get back.
Okay, well, great. What we're going to do now, we're going to throw it right over to Nicole, and she's just sitting there full of smiles. She just finished interviewing Ty, but I believe this is going to be a much better interview because that young lady looks better than Ty.
Much better.
Much better.
So let me tell you why I am smiling. Because the backdrop of the story when I met Dr. Gordon is that there was a little bit of friendly competition between Elder Ty and State Rep Charles Potter about who was the best swimmer at PS DuPont. And Dr. Gordon said, you know what, there's a pool nearby. We can settle this real quickly. So that's why I'm laughing. But thank you for that interview. And don't go anywhere because we have more of the bottom line right here, just like we promised. And I am just thrilled to have another special guest here in Studio B. A friend of mine, we got two doctors in the house. We got Dr. Gordon and we have Dr. Nate Guyton here. So thank you so much for joining me on the set.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Now, I'm sitting here, I'm learning tons of things about Nate, and she has just written a book. Would you like to show it off?
Yes, it is Transformational Innovation, 10 Practical Steps to Help You Change Your Life.
All right. Now, change, that can be a scary word for a lot of people.
Yes.
But change, what I found in my research and in just my life journey, change is necessary for growth and development.
Absolutely.
And I know that this book was about 2 years in the making.
Yes.
So kind of share with our viewing audience a little bit about you and your journey and how we got to this point.
Wow, wow. So I am a nurse by background. I worked in healthcare all of my life. Decided about 4 years ago to complete my doctorate program in organizational development. So it was out of nursing. And so that was a big change, you know, to seek a degree out of a profession I've known all of my life. So I took that jump, decided to make that change, and I completed that program. And through that program, I learned a lot about myself and my community and leadership at large. And I also learned that I had a lot of diverse gifts inside of me. You know, that it just wasn't about nursing and healthcare, that I was an entrepreneur, or, you know, I could be a caregiver, an advocate, a writer, you know, and that I discovered that through writing a dissertation.
Okay.
Right?
That you could write.
that now I can write, right? And I'm not afraid. And then after defending it, you know, I had this boost of confidence and knowing that, you know, I could do this and I could carve out the time to do this as being a mother and a wife, and I could really do this and work full time. So I literally went through these 10 steps, these 10 practical steps, going through my doctoral program, trying to figure out what do I want to do in life and walk in my destiny. And throughout those years, God had me really walking in, you know, my destiny. And what was revealed to me is I needed to change my perception. I needed to change, you know, how I allow people to think about me. And after I finished that dissertation, I said, I am going to put everything in writing because this really, really helped me. So my goal was to not only give back to my community as a doctor, but to share the practical steps that we're all looking for. Now, we all, you know, we're a little afraid of change. But it's inevitable.
Right.
Right?
Yes, it
but
is.
we're looking for the practical steps to say, how do I not only change my external, but the internal component? And that's where the transformational innovation comes from. We all go through transformations in life, right? We can agree with that.
Yes.
But the innovation we look for is external, right? The new job, the new car, the new thing, the new friend, the new husband, the new kids, you know. We look for it externally. And what I'm trying to get readers to do here, taking you through a guided journey to do the transformation internally. And the innovation is the new you.
Got it.
And then I'm asking the readers to embrace the new you. Right? Because being a nurse for at least 15, 18 years, that's where I saw myself. I didn't see myself as a writer. I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur. But once I went through these steps, I saw a new me.
Right.
And I was confused at first, like, okay, this is not nursing, and then through that process, I also created a real estate investment company that my husband and I run and own. So as a nurse, an entrepreneur who's in real estate, who's now an author,
Right.
the innovation is the new me, and I love it.
And apparently, this is just the beginning.
This is just the
Because you
beginning.
have some other things coming down the pike. I
Yes.
know that this is book 1 of 3.
Yes.
And you have some other entrepreneurial things coming up beyond being a nurse
Yes.
and beyond the real estate. So you're just on fire here. This girl is on fire, sure enough.
I'm on fire. Well, I have to tell the story, right? I have to give back, and especially our young generation, they're trying to figure out how to do this. Do I work for 40 years in the same profession? The millennials are not interested in
Right,
that.
correct.
Right? So we have to give them the tools to be able to have that self-discovery and embrace their diversity of gifts.
Right. And when we were talking a little bit about the book, you are also making a contribution to Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Delaware.
Yes.
Because in addition to being all of those things, you're also a mentor
Yes.
there as well as at Warner Middle School.
Yes.
So I'm trying to figure out when you sleep.
No, I don't sleep. I don't sleep, but yes, mentoring is very near and dear to my heart, and I talk about it in the book as well. I'm intentional about mentoring. I carve out time to do that. During the school year, I'm at Warner Middle School once a week with the Big Brothers and Big Sisters and the mentee program. And sometimes, you don't have time to do it, right? You're rushing to do other things, but I made a commitment. And this year we did a vision board. I did a vision board with a 2nd grader, and she was so happy, right? And to see that. And so I want to be able to give back and do that, while I'm doing my work, right? It helps me grow as well. So what I'm doing is 10% of all the proceeds of each of my book signings will be donated to the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Delaware.
So speaking of book signings, you had one yesterday,
Yes.
and I have to apologize. I missed it. I was out of town and stuck in traffic. I couldn't get back fast enough. But another one is coming to Delaware. So write this down. August 13th at the British Bell Tea Room, 4:00 p.m.
Yes.
So you'll be doing another book signing then, but you're doing one this weekend in Philadelphia. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm trying to cover all the areas here,
Great.
right? So Philadelphia, I have a few in Delaware, Maryland coming up, and also New Jersey, DC. So I have a full calendar. But anyone can visit the website to get information on where I will be.
Okay, could you provide them with that information?
Yes, the website is www.10principles.com. So that's www.10principles.com. And you can also find me on Instagram at Dr. Guyton. Once you do buy the book, let me know. My website, give us comments or email me at tayguyton, TAYGUYTON @gmail.com.
Great. And I know we're getting ready to go to another segment, but one thing that I appreciated about our conversation is that you didn't just write this book and tell other people, go do it.
Yes.
You lived it, you experienced it. And that's not always the case when you pick up a book. Somebody's just writing, ideas down, but the fact that you lived it and went through it, I think that speaks a lot about your mission and how you're just going to change the world. And we change it one person at a time.
Yes.
One person at a time.
Yes.
So would you like to say anything else before we go?
I would just like to end with a couple of things. One, I want to give a plug for mentorship. Any organization, the youth need our help. They need our leadership. So if you don't have a mentor or if you don't have a mentee, please, I urge you to go and look for a program or look for a mentee, right? And the other thing, with everything that's going on in our world today, it's really sad. I just want to urge everyone to pray and just set aside time and be very intentional about prayers for what's going on.
I like the fact that you use the word intentional.
Yes.
Because people are so kind of wishy-washy and haphazard about this and that, and we need to be intentional. You know, I know as an entrepreneur myself, people have asked me kind of, why is it that you put your feet on the floor every day? And I know for me, it's a matter of life or death. That as I promote health and wellness as a lifestyle, that if I don't do what I know I'm called to do, then somebody else, that may be a life or death situation, because I have some information that they can use that can help them improve the quality of their life and perhaps extend the quantity of their days on earth. So we have a reason why we do what we do. And I am happy that you are here on the show. I am happy to call you my friend. And after this interview, I need to be doing more things, obviously, because I feel like I'm just, you know, a slacker sitting next to you in the day. But congratulations on everything that you've done to this point, and I'm looking forward to the journey ahead.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going over to Studio C with Ed Johnson. Take it away.
All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the sports segment of the show. I'm going to be very quick tonight because they're waving me. I didn't have much time. So let's get right to it. Local sports stars. 2 local sports stars will be competing for the United States in the upcoming Olympics in the field hockey team. St. Mark's graduate Kathleen Fugosi from Landenberg, Pennsylvania, and Wilmington's Caitlin Van Sickle, a Tower Hill grad. Both are University of North Carolina grads. Good luck to both of them in the field hockey team. Now, in the NFL, last week, the Circuit Court of Appeals rejected Tom Brady's quest to stop his 4-game suspension. And if it was anybody else that had a suspension, not much would have been said about it. They would have did their suspension. You know, you got caught with your hand in the cookie jar, so now you must serve your suspension. Go ahead and get it over with. Let's forget about it and move on. You should have did that last season and moved on with it. And losing your quarterback can easily derail your season. For instance, last year, my Dallas Cowboys lost Tony Romo in the second week of the season. And we had a lot of quarterbacks coming in and out. They finished the season at 1-11 with him on the bench. So losing your star quarterback can be detrimental to your team. You must have a good quarterback and a good backup, which is very hard to do these days because of the salary cap and the much money that they're paying these guys. All right, in other NFL news, Dallas today signed linebacker Justin Durant, a needed linebacker since one of their starting linebackers were suspended for the first 10 games of the season. And the Miami Dolphins signed former running back Adrian Foster. We don't know how much gas fuel Foster got left in the tank because he's got 10 years in the league. Hopefully, Foster will be a good man for that. Baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies are struggling and will not make the playoffs. It's a matter of time before they get rid of Howard. The Chicago Cubs had the best record in baseball for a while. Now that distinction belongs to the San Francisco Giants in the National League West. They're 57-36, best record in baseball, and the Giants look pretty good. I want to jump over to Elena Delle Donne made a 3-pointer with a second left to give the Chicago Sky a 91-88 victory over the Seattle Storm last night. She finished with 35 points and 11 boards. Okay, golf. We still haven't seen Tiger Woods compete for quite some time now. Don't know when or if he will. The British Open was led for most of the part by Phil Mickelson. A fellow named Henrik Steffensen of Sweden overtook Phil to win the 145th British Open Championship. This is a picture of Mr. Stenson. Looked very good on that trophy, kissing that trophy. Know he made a lot of money. Congratulations to him and his people. We hope Tiger Woods can come back someday and do a good job. NASCAR, Kenseth pulled away late to win at New Hampshire. I just want to go over some of the things, some of the NFL top free agents. Le'Veon Bell didn't get a contract. He must play under the franchise tag along with Tyrann Matthews, Alshon Jeffries of the Chicago, Jamie Collins, Chandler Jones, Stephen Gilmore, Tyrod Taylor of Buffalo. These guys didn't get a contract, so they're going to be playing under the franchise tag and be eligible for free agency after the end of this season. Hopefully they'll get a contract, and we'll move on with that. Just want to make a couple of points here before I close out. one point I want to make is the women of the Olympic teams or of the United States have been bringing home the bacon. They're just been fantastic. You know, I just want to reiterate what I said last week, that the U.S. women's basketball team has not lost a game since 1992. You know, that's incredible. And Venus and Serena Williams are 16-0 in women's doubles. Incredible, incredible. These women are bringing it home. Good luck to the women, and hopefully we'll do all right. We're getting ready to go over to Studio A, Charles and his guests. Good night, y'all.
Hello, hello, and welcome back. Oh my goodness, well, welcome back to me anyway. I've been gone for just a few weeks, but I'm so excited to be back in the studio with my crew. And,
Bless you. We're glad to have you.
And she looking good. She had a tan. Look at that tan
I
on her.
did get a
She
tan.
went away.
It don't
She
take
didn't take
much.
none of us, did she?
I brought back some sunshine.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
So it's been a good 9 days,
Good.
but I'm back and I'm refreshed, and
There you go.
we're here to talk about some really heavy discussions.
I'm telling
this is
you.
our roundtable discussion, and there's
Yes.
been a lot happening in the news
Wow.
all across our country and in our local communities, and so we want to shine some light.
You while you were gone, I know you could not have helped but to hear about the shootings
Right.
in Dallas, the shooting in Baton Rouge, the shooting of police
Minnesota.
officers, Minnesota police officers, and what's your take?
Well, these are some situations that are not new to our country, right? Because they've happened before. Over just the last 12 months, we can rattle off about 25 to 28 names of individuals
Certainly.
who have encountered this same situation, so in families who have went through the same thing. But
Certainly.
more specifically, the beginning of this month is what you're addressing, right? The shooting of Alton Sterling
Yes.
and Philando Castile, right?
Krista, I was well, more than the individual actors.
Okay.
I always like to look at when there's a sore. Then I like to look what is causing that sore.
Absolutely. I'm
And
with you on that.
and I like to think that we in America are ignoring the fact that there's such a gap between the haves and the have-nots. And we don't talk about that enough, and we don't try to do anything.
So you're saying that these shootings are about the haves and have-not, or I'm trying to see how you bring this together.
I'm saying that the shootings have a lot more to do. People just make the mistake of thinking that racism is about pigment. And racism, from what I've understand, according to Dr. Claude Anderson, is simply about one group of folks vying and jockeying to control commodities and to control resources. That's what you call race, the
Now,
race.
I understand that, but I wanted Deneen to finish because I want her to bring us to this point for
Right.
this discussion.
Yeah, well, to your point, I mean, I definitely agree that there's a certain demographic that's targeted, but, when we look back at July 5th incident and Alton Sterling, who was gunned down by police, for really no reason that I could see from the video footage that was posted on social media. This is an individual who was standing outside of a convenience
Right.
store where he was a regular.
He was
He had
selling.
permission.
Selling
Well, he was
He had
selling
permission.
cassettes
He was
or
selling
CDs.
CDs.
Right.
And
That's one case.
there's this angle in the on this particular video which shows
Right.
a disagreement, an
Yes.
argument, and then him being tackled and wrestled to the ground.
That's right.
And then 4 shots ringing off. At no point in this video
Right.
did I see any probable cause or reason for this individual be gunned down the way that he
I
was.
agree. And the second one was
Okay,
the
so
guy.
24 hours later,
Yes.
probably not even that.
In
then
his car, in his car with his
Gentleman's name was Philando Castile, I think.
Philando Castile.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and so he's in the vehicle with his girlfriend. Regular traffic stop. I
Right.
think a busted tail light.
Right.
right.
And he did alert the police, and he
Right.
said that he had a firearm.
I have a
on him.
gun.
Right, but there's an
And-
open carry.
Right.
Right
Yes.
law
But he's
in that
licensed
state,
to carry.
and he's
but-
licensed to carry.
Right, and the police officer apparently, but you could plainly see that the police officer appeared, according to the video, appeared to be afraid.
Absolutely.
But
And you
I
wonder
agree.
why.
But he said, I have a weapon. And the police officer said, let me see your hand. And as he's trying to reach to show him his hands or he's trying to reach for his ID.
Did the police
he shoots
officer
him.
ask him for his
No,
ID?
no, he asked
or-
him for his ID.
He's asking for his ID.
Right.
And then
That's
he
what I
goes for
heard.
his ID and he gets shot. How do you end up dead with a broken tail light? How do you end up dead because you're selling CDs?
Well,
I think the
Very similar
contrast.
to Sandra Bland.
Yes, and I want to draw this contrast because we really had to have this discussion.
Right.
There are some good police, there are some bad police officers. We had good people on the street, and once in a while we had some bad people on the street. But people are just getting fed up of too many our young people, black, and we have white people as well, getting shot because you're getting stopped. We don't need people to be afraid of the police, and we don't need the police to be afraid of people. So we lost some officers in Baton Rouge.
Right.
Which
and-
is terrible.
Yeah.
Anytime
And-
we lose officers anywhere as a result of a shooting, horrific shooting.
And
like
we all
we've
don't
been-
like that. We're all sad about
Nobody-
that. We're sad
no-
about that.
Nobody
Neither
But
likes
at the
wrong
same
is
time,
right.
we're saying
Nobody
we're
likes
sad
it.
about all of our black people getting shot for no reason.
That's right.
But what even makes me sadder is that we tend not to be more proactive. Where's our now in these cases?
Okay.
The community's watching. Where's your civilian police review board?
We should have one.
that we've been calling for.
Right.
If you know, look at the NAACP. You look at people like the Black
So
Caucus.
educate the
we've
viewers, the
asked
police review
review,
board.
review board is when things like this happen, right? Because you got to remember there are still those who feel, and I say those who are citizens who feel like there's a certain code, a blue.
There's a blue code. And let me
Yeah,
mention this.
there is.
I was on city council over 8 years ago. I put in for civilian review board. We were working toward it. It was blocked. We need to have one independently of police and elected officials sitting on there. Let the citizens sit on there and be the judge of this. You know, there is a blue code that gives the police extra protection. It shouldn't be there. We want our police officers protected, but that blue code allows a lot of people to hide. And the other thing that allows people to hide police officers is you got a gun. That's all they got to say. We respect our police officers, so I don't want anybody to get this wrong. It's the saddest thing in the world to happen to see our officers who serve and protect get shot. It's sad to see citizens get shot. So
That are unarmed.
unarmed. But there has to be some justice where some of these cases where these officers are not only convicted, but they're penalized. The
Absolutely.
ones who done wrong.
Well,
And that's
that-
what makes the outrage occur because people
Absolutely.
are looking at the
Absolutely.
situations on a case-by-case basis and they're saying, wow, a man gets gunned down who is not even armed.
That's right,
You
yes.
know, but and
At
nothing
point-
happens
point
to that
blank
officer.
range,
Right.
where he's subdued already.
Yes.
That's
and
right.
you saying he had a gun in his pocket?
But an officer gets gunned down and then you're looking at life.
Yes, that's right.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
So-
So how do we?
where's
how
the
do
justice?
we? All right. How do we fast forward it so that things like this? I don't want to have to teach my son that anytime you're driving, son, or even my
Anyone,
daughter,
to be afraid all the
to
time.
always live.
Right.
You know, to be black in America means that you understand there's two Americas.
Right.
Ta-Nehisi Coates talks about.
Where do we
between
go?
the
We had
world
to
and me.
we had to talk about like now bring groups together and have some honest dealers, players at the table to say, yes, some officers do wrong, yes, some people do wrong, but why do you automatically do the shooting? And I don't want to steal the Cole's thunders about something they're coming up with, so I'll wait till next week. She has something very exciting that can be helpful, but
I would
how do
say
we
that
get
the
there?
bottom line is to have the conversation. Stop being scared to address it head
Yes.
on. You got to put it out on the table because that's the only way that you can deal with a situation is
That's
by
right.
addressing the
I
situation.
think the bottom line is more than conversation. People want
well,
something
these
to
peace,
happen.
right? But the
People
peaceful
want
protests are
something.
not producing any type of real results.
And that's the problem.
Okay.
That's part of the problem. People
You
say,
got individuals that are on
march.
social media that are
Right.
encouraging, attack on the police because they're
We
saying
don't need that.
Exactly.
That's not right.
So
No,
if
no,
they
no.
if they
That's
see
not.
that the peaceful protests aren't working and they're believing that if they just attack the police and they fight back, then they'll get some type of change. Then that's what people are going to end up doing because it's already happening,
Sure,
right?
because
you're
people
getting
have
to a
reached,
point of
it goes back
frustration
to
when
your point,
you're
where
over it.
people are at a point of frustration where wealth and power have kept people so in a dead, despairing context that they know that you talk one thing, but you do something
You know what?
else.
This is a
Nothing
heavy
is
conversation. When
happening.
we come back next week, we're going to spend a half an hour, and I'm going to ask an officer to come in so we can have this exchange. But right now, we need to close this down.
But you need to say thank you to the
Thank
officers
you.
that are doing a good
And
job.
we thank all the officers who do a great job, and the
do a great
ones who
job,
aren't,
absolutely.
we got a problem with
We
you. So
appreciate
we're going to
you.
throw this over to Nicole. She's
Thank
going to
you.
close us out.
And just as State Rep Potter shared, this is not the end of it. This conversation is going to continue. So you want to be here next week, same time, same place, 8 to 9. And I have something in my hand right here that will help with what we're talking about in traffic stops and that type of thing. So thank you so much for being with us. We're going to talk more about this, talk more about what's happening in the community and what we can do about it, because all lives do matter. On behalf of State Rep Charles Potter, Elder Ty, Deneen, and Ed, I'm Nicole DeSarette. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of The Bottom Line, and I hope that you have an excellent week. Take care.